All right, folks, welcome to episode number 4 of Elevate Your Grind, brought to you by Cannabis Lab. We are here actually filming on location at the Rise Dispensary in downtown West Palm Beach. Great location here. We've got Troy and Jared. They are the directors of patient and community outreach for Rise, at least for Florida here, and they're going to go ahead and give us a little bit more about their story, as well as all about Rise. Rise is probably one of the newer MMTCs here in Florida, but you guys are growing very, very quickly. So let's kind of get into the story here. I don't know if you guys want to go into a little bit of just an overview of Rise and really how you got your start. And I know that you guys are celebrating your 1-year anniversary. I believe that's of the Hallandale location, or is it Deerfield location?
So we just had our 1-year anniversary in Deerfield Beach. Well, first off, thank you for having us, Todd.
Of course.
It's an honor to be here representing the community of West Palm Beach and just kind of spreading the message and supporting the cannabis community. In regards to our 1-year anniversary, we did just host it in Deerfield Beach. January 31st, 2019, but we've been excited to share our growth with the community. We've had an event where we brought in an animal shelter, a local animal shelter. We waived adoption fees.
Very cool.
In support of our Dog Walkers brand and release.
And that's something I want to get into in a little bit too.
We'll definitely talk about that. But our Deerfield Beach location, we're happy to be here. I'm born and raised. My brother's born and raised in Broward County, so it's been an honor to see us grow for 1 year in Florida.
Very cool. So you guys opened that first location in Deerfield, and then you have right now, I looked at the last OOMU, and I think I pronounced that right. You guys have 6 dispensaries, and you're doing about 331 ounces of flower, which when you actually compare that to the other companies, it's not even top 10, but if you give the amount of locations that you have for some of these other companies, you're probably ahead of 3 or 4 people that have double the amount of dispensaries as you. What do you think you got? What do you think is the success there? Why are people coming to Rise? Is it convenient locations? Is it the quality of product? Or
I think it's a little bit of everything. First and foremost, we have a great team. We take a patient-first approach. We're never going to rush you. We're going to ask questions. We're looking out for your interest. Another thing that makes us a little different is we do grow exclusively indoors. We don't utilize any greenhouses, so therefore we're able to control the temperature, the humidity, the lighting, the water. All those factors are in our favor compared to leaving it to some outdoor variables. And I do think you see a difference in the quality.
And just a little background about Rise. We actually started cultivating medical marijuana in Illinois in 2014. Since then, we've grown to about 13 different states with 41 dispensaries open. In each state we're in, we utilize indoor cultivation techniques, and we use that experience since 2014 to develop our standard operating procedures to make sure we have the most consistent, standardized medicine so our patients can find the relief they're looking for. Very
cool. So on that note, you guys, so I just recently read that you guys are opening one of the largest cultivation facilities in the state of Florida in Ocala. There are a lot of other MMTCs here in the state of Florida that do outdoor grows, and they will say that the outdoor grows are for the concentrates or everything else, and that the quality doesn't have to be as good because you are going to concentrate it. You said you take a completely indoor approach. Talk to us, if you can, about that facility, if there's anything you guys know about.
It was exciting the second that we had that opportunity to grow. Currently we are cultivating in Homestead, Florida, but as we look to expand into northern Florida, we want to have operations there as well. We're very transparent with our cultivation practices. You can watch videos of us online, whether it's in Massachusetts or Illinois. We have videos showing our techniques and our standard operating procedures. We really just want to have the widest variety of medicine for our patients, as well as setting the highest standard. An example is in our indoor facility in Illinois, we actually got rated as having the highest THC flower recorded in the country.
Wow.
It's called Brownie Scout. I believe it came in at about 37% THC. And that's just a testament to our cultivation team and our practices and how they can fine tune and really make that precise medicine for our patients. At the end of the day, everything we do is for the patients to find that relief, and we're not going to cut any corners. We're not going to shave any dollars off. We're going to give our all to make sure that we have the highest quality on the market always.
Very cool, and I will echo that sentiment. So I guess, been a patient of Rise, or however you want to describe it, and I'm definitely going to be making a purchase after this show for sure. That's half the reason we did it at the dispensary. But you know, it is quality. You know, it's quality flower. I can say that I made a purchase of Shrieker at the Hallandale location, and aesthetically, just before you even try it or take the medicine or anything else, aesthetically, it was probably some of the nicest I had ever seen, just from a look standpoint.
We treat the plant like a living organism. We hand trim it. We have an extensive curing process. There's so much science and technique and processes that go into it. We're really proud to just be delivering and providing this medicine.
So one of the things that I'm really interested in now is, because you go out to California right now, and although we, you know, and here in Florida, we treat it as medicine a little bit better. Yes, there are the high THC strains, there are the more recreational type products, but at the end of the day, there are also a lot of products that are truly medicinal, right? So you talked about, you guys had some of the highest THC flower in Illinois, 37%. It's not for everybody, right? Sure. You know, Seth Rogen goes around, and I guess we can plug his company because they're Canadian, but you know, they have educational videos that says take one puff and wait 15 minutes, right? So at 37%, you know, that's pretty strong. You know, do you guys work the whole gambit? Do you have a lot of low THC products for people trying to get into the game, or just, you know, I think on one of the last podcasts I said I don't always want Everclear. Sometimes I just want a beer.
Very true.
You know,
and we always tell our patients, start low and go slow. We never want patients to overconsume or feel uncomfortable. We always implore patients to document your medical journey so you can resort back to it. But in regards to CBD, we have strains in high CBD in our Heal line, whether it's flower, vaporizer pens, tinctures. We have specific ratios. So we really do. Every patient is different, as mentioned, and some don't want to experience that heavily potent medicine. So we do try to have an option for everyone. Something like our field collection, we have a 10-to-1 ratio.
Let's actually get into these right now, right? So, you know, as people who are familiar with the cannabis industry, most people know what flower is. And if you hear people call flower, it's just because this is an industry now and it is a business. Flower is the typical cannabis that you're used to, that's been around forever. It's what you put in joints or blunts or a bowl or whatever device it is. But when you walk into, and especially until smokable flower was passed in Florida, you would walk into a dispensary and see a ton of products that the average consumer was unfamiliar with, right? Like you said, vape pens and tinctures and oils and creams and everything else. So, you know, being everybody's familiar with flower already, let's get into some of the other products. If you guys can talk to me about what, you know, the familiar stuff, and to get into what are the other things, how they're used, what they're good for, please. And we can use this as an education for our audience, for people who are not either patients yet or just becoming patients, and, you know, they're just looking for flower and see what else is on there.
Absolutely. So we have 4 different brands, starting with our Rhythm, which is going to be Inhalation. It's going to be the smokable flower as well as the vaporizers and concentrates. The Inhalation is great for immediate relief, sudden anxiety, sudden pain. You're going to feel that right away. 5 seconds, maybe up to a minute, but you're gonna feel it right away. The only slight downside to the inhalation route is it does only last for about an hour to 2 hours, so you are going to have to kind of constantly remedicate throughout the day, compared to our oral routes, which are going to be the field collection, which are going to be tinctures, drops under the tongue, as well as Dr. Solomon's, which are going to be capsules. The oral route is almost the complete opposite, where it does take about 30 minutes up to an hour to feel the effects. But the great part is it's long lasting. So it lasts anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. So you're not going to have to constantly medicate throughout the day, thus not using as much medicine and saving money.
Let's talk about this. So from a recreational standpoint, and we'll just leave it there, and you guys are wrecking some states, we all have that story where everybody is taking an edible, and the next thing you know, holy crap, right? You know, how would you recommend new patients, you know, with the capsules, with the tinctures? Because, I don't know, do these affect you? So when you use cannabis, the inhalation versus using it as an edible, or you know, actually eating the plant affects you kind of differently, right? So for people who don't want to inhale it, they don't want to smoke it, they don't want to use vaporizers, they're afraid of harming their lungs possibly, and I know there's not a ton of studies out on that yet. If they're going to use a pill form or a tincture form, how would you recommend? Would you recommend them starting at a lower THC dosage, or talk to us about how somebody new would get into this, maybe had never used cannabis in their life and are really starting to dip their toe in the water?
Absolutely. We always recommend starting low and going slow. The tinctures as well as the capsules, we usually recommend giving it about 3 to 4 days to start really feeling the effects. And if after then you still are feeling a similar effect, slightly increase it. As Troy mentioned, journaling. If you find certain medicines, certain strains that you do enjoy or don't enjoy, jot it down. And be aware of it.
And like we emphasize, there are no bad questions. We want our patients to come in, feel comfortable, and know the medicine that they're ingesting. We do not want a patient walking out of the door not being fully informed. So we're going to walk through all of our different consumption routes, all the different strains we have, and traditionally first-time users will guide them towards the maybe the higher CBD lines. Again, every patient's unique, where it's kind of hard to put it in a vacuum, but we really do take the time to listen, to understand, and try to provide our best guidance.
Sure. So let's stay on that note right there. So we want to educate patients, which I'm all for, right? I think a lot of the stigma and a lot of the negative side of the cannabis industry comes from a place of ignorance. And I don't want to say people being ignorant or mean or anything else, but ignorance in the truest sense of the word, that they just don't know because they lack experience. So somebody comes into a dispensary, and we'll say a Rise dispensary, I guess it's different from traditional retail. You're not trying to turn over clients. You're trying to educate them. But you're also hiring bud tenders or patient specialists. And I know it's bud tenders more in the recreational market. What does that training process look? Because there are so many different products and so many different types. And realistically, like you said, you take a journal because it affects everybody differently. How do you train your staff here in order to properly be able to help somebody?
We have a training deck that we go through with each employee, as well as do continuous education with current employees as well. We're never going to throw an employee out in the water. We want everybody to succeed. They're going to do shadowing. We're going to watch videos, go through PowerPoints, do Q&As, mock scenarios where before we open or after we close, kind of between the staff, kind of do a little mock situation. We're going to make sure that all the employees are prepared before they're out there.
And the beautiful thing is that because Rise is such a family, I have my managers down in Hollandale or Oviedo or in other states on speed dial, where we have that support system and reliance on our team, where anytime there's any questions, comments, concerns, we have that ability to kind of reach out, find if there's any information to help guide.
Okay.
Our manager just recently in West Palm Beach came back from a trip to Illinois, where we're headquartered out of, and had a great team building exercise where she has a training regimen as well. So we really have a hands-on approach, not only with our patients, but with our staff as well. We want to treat our staff right, and therefore the staff treats the patients right.
Very cool. And so you go back to that journaling. Do you guys recommend that your staff keep a journal of the products that they try, and this way they can actually share their personal experiences?
Many of our patient care specialists are patients as well. It's not a requirement, but we do want to have an understanding of the medicine. And the tricky thing is that the medicine is going to interact differently with different patients. So I may have a positive reaction to a specific strain, and I can go into that and how it has affected me, but it's not necessarily going to replicate that effect for the patients as well. It provides guidance, but we try to keep all options open and not necessarily tell the patient that this is how they're going to feel, but that it's an option on how you may feel.
So, one of the things I find really interesting, and I don't know if you guys are on this yet, it's something that I found. The site Leafly is actually trying to move away from classifying cannabis as indica and sativa and hybrid, because it's kind of outdated, and the amount of hybrids that are around there now, the amount of hybrids that we have are so prevalent that it just doesn't really make sense
Very
anymore.
true.
You know, I've had conversations with people. I'm like, oh, that's a sativa. They're like, yeah, but I use it to sleep. And I'm like, I can see how that works. You know, what Leafly is trying to do is they're coming up with this kind of kaleidoscope of diamonds and circles and pictures,
unique.
and we're really getting into the terpenes and the cannabinoids and is it cannabinoid or cannabinoid? Because it's not cannabis, right?
I'm not the
So I'm gonna
the
listen
authority on
right
that
here for
one.
Elevate Your Grind. We're gonna say it's cannabinoid
Flip a coin.
because it's not cannabis. I can't even say it correctly.
I love it.
So getting into that, you know, do you see, or are you guys moving towards that? You know, indica sativa hybrid is not really the general classification, but realistically the effects and how, you know, the one thing I like about Leafly's is essentially, I can't figure out that kaleidoscope thing yet, but if the two kaleidoscopes are similar, that means they're probably similar strains. Do you guys follow that, or?
I've seen the Leafly diagrams. They are a little tricky, but as you get more and more familiar with it, it'll become comfortable. But what we do, and a way to guide our patients as well, is on our labeling. I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera, but I'll just show it.
We don't have a production crew to be able to zoom in on this, but we can tell you what we're looking at here. Maybe a future episode we can zoom in.
Each one. All of our medicines third-party tested by an independent laboratory, and on that specific labeling, not only do we have the cannabinoids, but we have the terpenes as well. 6 of the main terpenes that we test for and relay on our medicine is going to be used as a guide for our patients.
Very cool.
Some patients are looking for that sativa-like effect, but we're not going to classify it as a sativa. What we're going to look for is if some patients looking for energetic effects, we're going to try to look through all of our medicine and see what's high in limonene, what's high in pinene, and use that as a way to show the patients this is the relief that you'll be getting, because something like pinene is a known bronchodilator, increases blood flow. Limonene is
this is an education for me right here.
for creativity, focus. I've read reports that it's great for protective against neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. So that's why I'm saying when we listen to the patients, one patient may say they're looking for a medicine that for nighttime. So we're going to try to find something that's high in myrcene or linalool. Linalool, I always say it's been used as a medicine for thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians used to ignite lavender on fire and inhale the effects. And the same way we still use lavender to this day in candles, essential oils, etc. It's because it's going to be providing that relaxing effect.
Actually a theme of my sister-in-law's wedding was lavender everything.
So the good thing is that a lot of our medicine, on all of our medicine, we're able to deduce that specific terpene. If a patient is more positively towards one, we'll be able to guide them towards that.
We'll do we do educational events in the store once a month. We do a Terpene Thursday where we set up in the waiting room, have a table. We bring in some terpenes as well as some props, and do the education where we'll have a lemon and lime with limonene, have them smell each, relate, and just continue.
So you guys do this every Thursday?
We try to do it like once a month.
Very cool.
Another terpene like humulene, which is found in hops beer, is actually an appetite suppressant, where most terpenes you get the munchies. Humulene is the complete opposite. So patients that aren't looking for that experience, we recommend asking, will we have high in humulene?
I need that.
Go through our database. All different patients are looking for all different types of effects and feelings.
I just have to throw in one more terpene that wasn't mentioned. My personal favorite, beta-caryophyllene, is found in peppers, cloves, sage. It's going to be great for anti-inflammation, but as well, it's a very unique terpene because it's one of the only ones that interacts with your CB1 and your CB2 receptors. So it's interacting with both your body and your mind and giving you that full experience. One thing I just want to relay in regards to terpenes, our medicine is 100% cannabis-derived terpenes. We don't use botanical terpenes. In our vaporizer pens, we label on the package it's 100% cannabis oil. We're not using MCT oil. You had mentioned we can learn from the West Coast. They're much further ahead. And we see regulations coming where there's been talks of banning botanical terpenes. There's been talks of banning MCT oil. So we try to stay as pure, as clean, and as true to Mother Nature and the cannabis plant as possible.
Very cool. So I kind of interrupted you guys a little bit through because there are a couple products on the table that I'm still not familiar with. mainly that guy all the way to the left, the syringes. So I've seen these in a lot of the MMTCs, and I believe it's concentrate oil. Is this similar to the oil that you find in a vaporizer pen? Is it different? You know, I worked with a former colleague at a past company that was a lot more into this than I was, and he would use it almost as an edible sometimes. I've heard people line joints and other things with them. Let's talk about the concentrate oil and the many uses of it, actually.
And that is the beauty of it. It is a very versatile medicine. Patients can coat their flour in it, whether it's in a water pipe or rolling papers. They can cook with it. You can orally ingest it. You can use it in vaporizer pens. You can dab it.
So that's like the utility player of the industry right now.
Extremely versatile.
It's a CO2 extracted CO2 oil with.
Is everything you guys do CO2 extract?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
A lot of patients are looking for that edible experience. Unfortunately, due to laws, we can't offer it. So you need just a very, very, very small amount with something like a piece of chocolate, a cracker, and you're going to have
So basically you make your favorite candy inedible at this point.
You kind of can. It's like patients, some don't like the inhalation route, the oral route. It's just another route,
and
another piece of medicine.
When you metabolize that medicine, it's going to provide a different effect and reaction. That's why many patients do prefer that edible route. It is strain specific as well, so whether you're looking for a very uplifting effect, whether it's like a Blue Dream or a Sour Diesel, or a very relaxing effect like a True OG or Julius Caesar, we'll have all of those available because, again, every patient's different and we want to be able to provide them with any option necessary.
Very cool. So one of the things I've noticed is, so Rise obviously, and GTI Rise operates across many states, right? And then so you guys going back to what you said about how everything is indoor grown and you have these standard operating procedures and everything else. So because you're doing everything indoor, are your strains and genetics pretty much homogenous across the states? Do you have specific strains per state? Just because, as I understand it, you know, certain strains do better in certain geographies and humidity and everything else like that. Do you have a lot of similar products across state, you know, across each state? I know it can't always be the exact clone or anything else, but is it a pretty similar experience if I were to go to a GTI Rise in another state?
We want to have that consistent approach, so our patients in Pennsylvania or Maryland, or our adult use consumers in Massachusetts and Illinois, when they come to Florida and experience our medicine, we want to have that same approach, that same standardization. So typically our strains, we do try to keep consistent. For instance, that Brownie Scout, there are regulations that come into play where it's difficult to or for, in some regards, illegal to transport specific genetics, whether it's clones. But we do try to keep that medicine consistent because, again, the most important thing is that patient finding their relief. And the same way that it is with pharmaceuticals, if you get the Cialis in Pennsylvania, you should be getting the same Cialis in Florida. And we want to keep that consistent.
Very cool. So along those lines, and this is just something I want to get into just because I am on the tech side of things, and it's really interesting to me. You know, talking about the standard operator, and you guys may not know this, so if you don't, that's fine. It's on the cultivation side. Through the standard operating procedures that you guys have, is there a technology or is there tracking? Are there sensors that you guys are using to make sure that you have that same consistency? You know, as I understand it, a lot of these grow facilities, it's basically a whiteboard, right? It's a whiteboard with results and everything else, and it's a lot of physical writing in it, but there's no machine learning on that. There's no AI, and I'm starting to see a lot of companies come out with mixing the traditional methods into basically an AI machine or machine learning, and being able to really tweak those strains the way they want to do that. Are you guys doing anything like that, or do you know?
We're always looking for opportunities to innovate. New technologies are constantly coming out, and because we have that national approach, we're always listening, always hearing, and always being approached on that opportunity to acquire new technology, to utilize new technology. I'll say from my perspective, we do try to keep a very personal touch with our plants.
Okay.
As mentioned, we hand trim, hand grind, hand water, we speak to the plants, we play music in the cultivation facility. We really want to have that bond because
can we share that playlist?
These living organisms, they have feelings. But back to your question, can't fully.
If you guys don't know, that's fine. I know you're a lot more on the business and retail side of it. You know, a lot of times with the cultivation. I mean, those are intellectual property and everything else. So I completely understand.
We definitely, I would imagine, still use whiteboards, but like Troy said, we're always trying to get ahead of the curve, and any opportunity we have to get ahead of the game.
Very cool.
This is just a quick plug for our videos. Please Google GTI Cultivation in either Massachusetts, Illinois, Pennsylvania. It shows a really transparent approach to how we do things.
Very cool.
Because again, this is a medicine, and we want our patients to be fully informed on the processes and the medicine.
Very cool. So you guys have been around for a year. You're doing great in Florida. 6 dispensaries, I believe. Is it 6 right now? 6. So we've got Hallandale, Deerfield, West Palm,
Oviedo, Pinellas Park, and Bonita Springs.
Very cool. So you've got some great locations, and you guys are performing great. And you know, I kind of said this at one plant, and I don't mean to bring up another MMTC here, but I think the differentiator is once smokable flower was passed, that's going to be the differentiator between companies that are going to do well and not do as well, right? Because I believe the majority of people, that's what they're looking for, and you guys have a great quality flower, which is what I think has led to your success. So GTI, big company, you guys are operating in how many states?
I believe 13.
13 states. That's incredible. You guys are in Illinois, which we've seen some great news come out of.
If you want me to just go through each one.
Yeah, go through each one.
Let's see if I can remember. Maryland, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Ohio, Illinois, Nevada. I'm sure I'm missing
4 more.
Florida. And some others will come to mind in due time.
That's coming up on your performance review this year. So unfortunately, you didn't pass.
California.
You can find it on gtigrows.com.
Very cool. So one of the cool things is, you know, I looked you guys up. GTI is huge. There's 1,100 employees over those 13 states. But one of the coolest thing about GTI and Rise is that you guys give back to the community. One of the things that I saw is over $600,000 in donations, and then one of the reasons that I really like Rise is the Dog Walker brand, and I believe we have the tin that's up there. The Dog Walker brand to me is cool. I started in every recreational and medical space. For some reason, the gram pre-roll has become the standard. Why, I don't know. Unless you're bringing it to a party or hanging out with friends, which we don't do in this state because it's medical, it's freaking huge. And you're putting it out 2 and 3 times, and it's not as fresh. So the Dog Walker to me is a perfect personal size. It's a great dose. And there's a great story behind it too. So if you don't mind, let's get into it. So actually, let's show them. So we don't have the actual flower here, so we'll hold this up because we can't zoom in. But you get 5 little 0.35 grams,
Correct.
0.35 gram joints that come in this, and they're perfect for taking a dog for a walk, if you will. But they really are the perfect size to consume the whole thing and get rid of it for one person. Yeah. So tell us the story behind Dog Walkers, because not only are they a great size, a great product, they come in great packaging, it's a really good story behind it because it gives back to the community, and it goes back, I believe, to the adoption promotion that you guys did.
Yeah, our CEO, Mr. Ben Kovler, created the brand. It was first started because of his dog Bailey, so you'll find inside the package a little message about Bailey. But it is a personal pre-roll. We have a ton of patients in the state of Florida as well as throughout the country that can't roll their own pre-roll. So it's very convenient. You're getting 5 of them. And as you mentioned, most patients don't need that half gram, full gram pre-roll, so it's that perfect amount. They're hand finished, and we've already heard incredible feedback how the medicine works for patients. A portion of the proceeds do go to local pet animal rescues. We've teamed with Vocal, which is the Voice of Change Animal League in Ocala, as well as other states, and we're just really, really proud to fight for animal pet rescue, or for the Dog Walker brand.
Very cool.
It's something that a lot of our patients and staff believe in. We support the environment, the community, and anything we can do to kind of give back and show that this medicine is a medicine and that it's a positive thing for society. It's not that stigmatized cannabis or marijuana. It really is a way for patients to find that relief, and Dog Walkers is that great approach for patients who don't have that ability to roll their own, whether it's for arthritic reasons, Parkinson's reasons, or just the ability to. We're proud of it. The Dog Walkers are no shake, no stems, no seeds. As Jared mentioned, hand packed, hand finished. We're happy to be releasing them in Florida. Across, as well as many other states.
Yeah, so we my colleague Dave and I found them in Las Vegas first, and then when we saw the announcement, or not even the announcement, when I saw the advertisement that you guys had them here, I had to go and get them immediately, and they're amazing. And honestly, it's not even just if you can't roll your own, because they're small. You're not charging too much of a premium for it to be a pre-roll. It's not like the grams. There are some of us that can roll phenomenal ones, and we still go with the dog walkers just for the size and the convenience. I see this poster behind us. This isn't Bailey, is it?
That's a good question.
I don't believe it.
But, it's really cool to hear you guys giving back to the community. So this has been great. I want to give a few plugs before we end this, and then we go on and tell us where we can find you guys and everything else about that. So Elevate Your Grind, we're brought to you by Cannabis Lab. Cannabis Lab is the #1 cannabis professional networking group in South Florida. I am a member. These gentlemen are members here. We just had an awesome event with Ricky Williams. We got to hang out with Ricky Williams. Watch the Super Bowl party. We all got to hang out.
South Florida, I've been a fan all my life. Had Dolphin season tickets. It's just great to support the community at the end of the day.
So it's very cool to have Ricky out with us, get to meet him. He got to learn a lot more about the Florida market, which leads us into this podcast is brought to you by Real Wellness. Real Wellness is one of the top herbal supplement companies, in my opinion. Check them out, realwellnessherbal.com. Like I said, Ricky Williams has been studying herbalism for the past 15 years. These are formulas that he created for his friends and family that are now available to the public. It's CBD and a bunch of other herbs. This is brought to you by realcloudpros.com. Real Cloud Pros is my company. Cannabis is hard enough, and I'm sure you guys can attest to it. Running a cannabis business, there's a lot of things that you have to worry about. Don't let your IT be some of that, right? Let us, Real Cloud Pros, handle your technology, manage your technology, keep it up and running, and let you guys focus on cultivation and selling your product. And then today's episode is brought to us by GTI Rise. So tell us, guys, where can we find you guys on the internet? How do we get involved with GTI?
So GTI stands for Green Thumb Industries. We're a publicly traded company. You can look us up on gtigrows.com, risecannabis.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We really are just trying to spread the message that this is a medicine. Patients are benefiting from it. And we're here to help provide that right to wellness.
Very cool. Well, Troy, Jared, really appreciate your time today. I'm going to get out of here and go make a purchase. Really excited about that. It was a pleasure having you guys both on the podcast. I look forward to seeing you guys at future Cannabis Lab events. Our next event, I believe, is next week, Thursday the 13th. Check out www.joinclab.com to find out more about that event, find out more about memberships. Check us out on Facebook at Cannabis Lab. Check us out on LinkedIn at Cannabis Lab. And now you can find us on Instagram at CLab_Cannabis Lab. Check it out. Sorry, that's completely wrong. CLab_Elevate Your Grind, because this is the Instagram for our podcast. Gentlemen, I have a feeling we're going to be doing this a few more times throughout this year, so I really look forward to it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And glad everybody had a good time watching this. Take care, everyone. Bye.